Oh, we
Hi.
got someone here.
Oh,
Amazing.
hello, Gregory. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is
Hi.
Ceylon. I'm here with my friend Urmila Menon, and we're
Hi.
so excited to talk about storytelling and the power of art with Urmila's new book, Color Coded. Thank you, everyone who has joined us already and will join us. Hi, Margaret. So good to see you again. Hi, Janet. I'm so glad that everyone's joining. We had a really funny mess up with courtesy of the time zones. I forgot that the time is also a different day with Hong Kong. I'm also very nervous because this is the first time I'm hosting a live, but I'm super excited and I'm so happy to have Urmila with us. So thank you so
Ah,
much for being here. I'm going to let Urmila take over and tell us about yourself and the work that you do, and tell us how creativity has been a part of your story.
sure. Firstly, thank you to everyone who has joined us. Despite of a little bit of mix-up, I'm so glad to see a lot of you join. So a big hi to everyone, and thank you so much for your time. I'm Urmila. I am an author, artist, creative educator, and the founder of Creative Wellness Project. So, if I talk about creativity, and I'm based in Hong Kong, so I'm based in Hong Kong, yeah, and that's where I'm joining from. As for creativity, I think it's had the longest relationship with me ever since probably I was a kid, because I was a very hyper imaginative child, and creativity for me is so much more than a hobby. It's more like a survival skill. It's helped me probably get through an unpleasant childhood. It's helped me, when I rejoined back to my creativity, I think I started something called as urban sketching, which is actually sketching live on location. So it really helped me see the world in a different way. And from that, creativity has been that agency of change for me, which has led me to reach places beyond my imagination. For example, when I moved to Hong Kong, my first ever solo exhibition within a year of moving, then exhibitions across London, Hong Kong, Australia. Then also, I think my mental health series made it to London for an exhibition. And luckily, one of the paintings from that series is the cover of my book as well. So that was in 2021, and it was very serendipitous that it's landed on the cover of my book as well. It's also helped me create art for change. So I have done art fundraisers to help COVID situation, and it was featured in South China Morning Post. Again, something very beyond my imagination and reach. So anything impactful that I've been able to do, it's all thanks to my creativity. And now, even with this book, I think I've channeled all my creative facets. And I'm so glad to share and very grateful actually to share that it's the number one Amazon bestseller, and number one hot release. And it was just in pre order. So that's like for a first time author. So I'm very grateful to my creativity and the power of creativity that we all have, and the agency of change and impact it can give for all of us.
I love how you framed creativity as a survival skill. I've always seen it as like a lifestyle, it's a way to
Mhm.
view the world, but I love how you viewed it as a survival skill because that is so true as well. And also, we will start talking a little bit later in this live about how your book became such a bestseller so quickly. There's obviously something that you said that resonated with a lot of people. Um, but first, I we talk a lot here about 1 billion arc about living in our own version of the story.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, with your experience, what was the story that you were told you had to live as you were growing up, or maybe just previously in your life? And when did you realize how to tell your own version of that story?
Oh, that's a really nice question. So, I think, it's a very, how do I say, like, we were told, I mean, I was told the very typical, South Indian middle class, narrative, like, you have fixed careers like doctor, engineer, something safe, something secure, something stable. That's what you've got to do. You've got to study, find a job. That's definitely the story that's always been told to me as I was a child. But you will not believe this, Jaden. Even when I was a kid, I always felt like a misfit in these narratives. Like I don't know how I was so hyper aware, but I knew that this is not the script of my life. I'm not, these boxes are not meant for me. And I was very, very aware of it very long, you know, very early on in my childhood. And I think I've written this in the book as well, that I used to imagine myself giving interviews. And this was in fourth grade, Jalen. It wasn't like when I was someone like, I was in my teens. This was in fourth grade. I used to sit in the bathroom because that's where you get a little bit of privacy, right? And I would like rehearse interviews and talking. And I have no idea what is the topic, what is, now that I think back, it's not none of that. But I clearly, vividly remember, that moist pain in my bathroom with the money plant my mom had kept, and I'm sitting there and rehearsing, giving an interview. And of course, by back then, I didn't know manifestation or anything. But it's literally been so early on in my life, and I knew that I this is not what I'm meant to do, and I'm meant to do something way beyond these scripts. So I think I was pretty aware, and that, how do I say, that misfitness has always been the driving force of going forward, to know that I have to express, create, and share to tell my story in different mediums. So yeah.
That's what a blessing. Hi, Meg. Hi, everyone else who just joined us. I'm talking with my friend Urmila. She just launched her debut novel, or not novel, debut book. And we're talking about the power of storytelling to help us find our power, and specifically about authenticity and finding your own version of the story. I think that's so interesting and such a blessing that you were able to have that so early on, because I know so many other people, myself
Yeah.
included, who
Yeah.
spent so long living in someone else's story, and
Mm.
it was a very painful process to have your world kind of flipped upside down once you do realize that this box is not meant for me.
Yeah.
I'm meant to tell my own story. And
Yeah.
I also relate to that experience of, uh, you know, the foggy bathroom mirror in fourth grade, and that was where I acted out my stories, and I acted out the stories that were in my mind from the perspective of people who lived different lives than I did, and had different experiences, and I was like, what would life be like if I lived through their shoes in their experience? And that leads me to, talking about this journey. Both One Brilliant Arc, the story studio that we have, and your work is very much is centralized around lifting up voices that have been marginalized.
Yeah.
Um, and I am really curious, what it was like. How would you define marginalized? And how do you think we can break down the barriers that make some of us feel as if we live in the margins?
Oh, that's again a very deep question. So, okay, I've had a bit of a journey with this term marginalized, right? So, when I moved to Hong Kong, I did realize that, visiting a place as a tourist and actually living there are two different things. And I learned this the hard way. And you also learn these societal cues that show that some are welcome and some are not so welcome. Some colors of skin are preferred and some are not. So these are like surface level things that you start to pick up when you come to a foreign place. Yeah. And then you tend to have these narratives in your head that, oh, so, I'm not given opportunity. Yeah, I was denied certain opportunities because I'm an Indian. And I have been told this on multiple occasions. It's come out in, job opportunities and stuff like that. So I was very angsty about this. I was very vocal about it. I used to write a lot about it as well. But something changed during this journey of writing this book. So while this book was born from these experiences and my need to share these kind of stories so someone else going through this experience can, find solace and find hope, I was also in two minds thinking that, okay, I want to make my story palatable to the market, to the wider audience. It shouldn't just be my story or me trauma dumping. So I was researching on other books that would be talking on similar conversations. And that's when I think I came across this book, Minor Feelings by Kathy Hong Park. She is a Korean American author. And she had really, really acidically expressed her experiences as a Korean American in the US. And while I was reading, so in the beginning, I was reading her story and I was like, okay, I have gone through the exact same thing. How is she feeling what I'm feeling? She's not brown. Like how? And then as the book went on, I realized that these feelings of feeling like a misfit that feeling of alienation and frustration is universal. And we, as so called marginalized, if we start segregating and competing against each other, trying to show that my marginalized feeling is higher than yours, or, competing that you can't be feeling this because, you're not brown or you're not black, you're, whatever, Korean, I think that defeats the purpose. And rather than us becoming competitors in proving who deserves to be called marginalized and who needs these opportunities more, if we join forces, there is more power in allyship. And that's how this book moved from my story to this. So I started writing this, kind of retoning this book for misfits, the creatives, the dreamers, and women who refuse to shrink, because I felt all these people have the same feeling of alienation, that marginalized frustrations, that alienation and erasure, invisibility. So I think, yeah, that's how it kind of changed my perspective about what do you think of marginalization and who deserves to be called and who doesn't deserve to be called.
Wow, I love the way that you phrase that. That's something that I think not enough people realize. That like that's the secret right there is
Yeah.
not trying to fit yourself into a box, but
Yeah.
erasing the boxes and realizing that our authenticity as humans is
Mm.
individual to each person, and yet our stories all overlap over these shared emotional truths. This is again something that we talk about all the time at One
Yeah.
Brilliant Work, and I'm so excited to meet someone else who gets it. But the amazing thing about story is that it is that thing that connects your experience and your unique feelings with someone else. And
Yeah.
story is such a gift because the moment that you are in a story, you're experiencing life through someone else's perspective. And I think that that's why humanity needs more voices telling stories, because the more
Yeah.
stories we have, the more people
Yeah.
owning their authentic stories, the more perspectives we'll get to see from, and we'll realize that these boxes don't need to be here. They can disappear.
Yeah.
And you said something with your book that
Mm.
really stuck out to me. You said that you met so many people who said "me too," and I'd
Mm.
love to hear your take on what the power of "me too" is, and what gives us that gift to be able to say it.
I think when you're a creative, it can be anything, whether you're a writer, you're a musician, you're an artist. Um, you are always creating in solitude. The craft itself, you're creating in solitude, right? So when you're creating something in solitude, you have no idea whether it's going to be accepted, whether anyone's going to see it, hear it, accept it, enjoy it, appreciate it. There are so many questions. And as creatives, the imposter syndrome is, I think, through the roof. No matter what credentials you have had, no matter what you've done in the past, it always seems like you're back to zero when you're creating something new or you're taking up a new project. And that solo journey can be so dark and long at such times that when you hear that one person saying that, hey, I feel exactly the same, it gives you so much of fuel to keep going. And I think in my journey, I'm so glad that I was building this book in public because it gave me the early signal that there are people who would want to hear the story, who would want to be part of the story, who would feel that me too as well, because that's what keeps us going. So they know I'm building something for someone like them. And I know I have someone who will read this or hold this in their hand when it's out there in the world. So that's the power of Me Too. It's a symbiotic relationship that helps both parties feel seen, heard, and healed in so many ways.
I love that. I love that. And I love how you found that power come alive with your book. Um, so this brings us to talking about your actual book and your publishing experience. Um, so I, again, super inspired and impressed and just in awe that you were able to become an Amazon bestseller just in the pre-launch stage. Like that is such a huge amazing accomplishment, and I want to give you a huge round of applause for that.
Yeah, thank you.
But I'd also love to know, like, as we work with authors all the time who dream of having their book in the bestseller uh,
Yeah.
list, I'd love to know, like, what was your secret? What was your strategy for successfully launching the book? And did you feel like you did anything different from like kind of the conventional wisdom that we're all taught? Like, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is the process, and you can't deviate from it. You can't bring your own authenticity to it.
Mm. I think the main differentiator, I think, is I played to my strengths and I also played to my weaknesses.
Mm.
So I am a very sensitive person. I am someone, a very huge empath, and also someone who experiences life in all senses. And I tend to express, create, and share a lot of my experiences as well. So I think I mentioned a little bit of this in the previous question as well. When I started doing this book, I started from the get go that, first thing I announced on my Substack that I'm, writing a book and so and so. And, I made that announcement, I think, in Feb 2025. So my readers were aware that, okay, there's something on. And then I think I finished the manuscript in 3 months. And after that, I completely lost faith in it. And, it completely, I think I took a trip or something and I was documenting the whole trip through an illustrated journaling medium that I was doing, and people enjoyed it. And then I kind of met a lot of people through that, through my workshops. And before I knew, I was hosting a workshop for 20 odd people around the world for illustrated journaling. I had people joining from Alaska, a pilot, someone from Slovenia. So when I tell you, Jalen, that creativity has led me to meet people in the most unlikely way, this is what I'm talking about. So I started having a community organically well before this book was out there. And why I say organically is it wasn't because I knew that I'll be publishing a book in 10 months. That wasn't the motive. It was something that it just happened organically. Like I'm always a person who creates and shares her work and shares what I'm going through as well. Like the messy bits, the doubts, the time that I'm feeling that this is not it. I've shared everything. So I think I ended up building a community of people who were cheering me on with the book as it was growing, or as it was stuck, or as it was not moving forward. I think it was in June that I put out a call for beta readers. So I was under the impression that it'll take long to find beta readers because, it's something you do for free, and who would want to do that? Who would want to read my story? That kind of thinking again.
Mhm.
I put out the message saying that I'm writing a book about identity, creativity, and representation, and I'm looking for beta readers. I sent the message in a couple of groups and I just went to get tea or something. Within half an hour, I had like 20 people who had reached out to be beta readers. And I thought that, am I hallucinating? Was there something wrong in that tea? Like, I don't think the math is not mathing. Like, what's happening? I mean, I was going through such a bad time and, bad time with the books, mentally. And I was thinking, should I just can this? Because I don't know whether this is going to work out. Should I just can it? Is it going to be an utter waste of time and all of that? And then 20 people, the ones, as you say, said me too. They're like, you know what? I so relate to the theme of the book. I'm third generation and I know what it means to have that kind of identity and these kind of issues. Someone said that, yes, I have felt like a misfit and so on and so. So there were 20 odd Me Too's wanting to be the beta reader. And suddenly, I was in a position of choosing 8 people to be my beta readers. So from thinking that who's ever want to do this or something to actually being in a position to choose. And I felt so bad. Like it feels really bad to say no to people when it's something as creative and so close to your heart because you want more people to read this. But also having 20 beta readers isn't a good idea because that's too many things to, cater. And I'm like, wow, this is a good conundrum to have, but I really feel awful in saying a no. So I kind of really put out a form saying that you have to share your why for being the beta reader. And then if it matches with what I'm doing, then I think it would be a great fit. I had to put it that way. So I literally had like a selection procedure. So for the beta readers. And so these kind of things I think really made people invested. in knowing about the book, hearing about the book, and being in the loop about them. And I had also done like an illustrator series where I was sharing the entire messy bits, like it was like me writing these handwritten notes with my illustration characters. So there were different ways in which people were actually consuming the book journey. And they were like, it kind of builds that kind of investment. So that's one thing I give as a tip. You need to find your community,
Mm,
and it cannot be transactional.
mm,
It can't, because I tell you, I tried transactional. So in the beginning, I think Feb 2025, when I had put out the news that I'm putting a book out there, I'm writing a book out there, I'd said paid subscribers would get an exclusive preview of my journey. And the response was pretty lukewarm, honestly, because it was a transaction.
right.
You pay, I'll give you this. But with my beta readers, it was a genuine call, a genuine reach. Like, I'm doing this story. I would love if this resonates with you, if you want to come with me on this journey. So that was an invitation. It wasn't a transaction. So
Mm,
I think that flipped the script. So that's also something I'd recommend. Do not go for this transactional approach. It'll only take you so far. But if you have an invitation open, people are more likely to join when they have the agency of change and agency of choice. So I think community building is the number one thing I realized that helped me with this book. Secondly, I did reach out to other authors who have released their books in the past and stuff like that. You will hear a lot of advice, like a lot of advice. And it can be so, so overwhelming that you might as well feel that, you know what, this is not meant for me. But I'll tell you something. You need to be discerning enough to know how much of this can I do and how much of this can I not do. So when I was choosing my editor, I had hired an editor for the, final edits. When I put out a call for the editor as well on Upwork, I had about 24 applications from the different platforms. So I was also interviewing editors and seeing which is so find the right fit of editor. That's, I think, the most important decision you would take other than finding a life partner. It's as
yeah.
important as that.
It's so true. Oh, I don't wanna interrupt you if you have more tips than just those 2, but, oh my goodness, as an editor myself, I feel that so much. It's what I want to, like, scream at everyone who is looking at getting a book published 'cause like you said, like, there's so much self-doubt and there's so much fear, and it's such a big thing that, like, you have all these voices screaming at you,
Yeah.
and if you don't know your voice, your authentic voice, and you don't have an editor who can help you center that. I've
Yeah.
seen so many editors like scrub someone's authentic voice from their manuscript because they say your authentic voice isn't good enough to be published.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
exactly why we started One Brilliant Art because we're like this is happening too
Too
often.
much.
People are getting their truth is getting skewed to fit into someone else's box and that's
Yeah.
not cool.
Yeah.
So yes, you are so right, and please, anyone listening, like, if you take anything from this, find an editor who honors and
Yeah.
centers your authentic voice and fits with your mission and vision for your book.
Yeah. So the editor thing is also an important decision because, like you said, most books die in the editing phase because it's the worst patch that you'll go through. And you need to find the right person to go through that rough patch because it's not pretty. I think I was doing the hardcore editing in October, and that was the most hectic month of my life. Like, I've done a double post graduation, but that October month felt like the most intense thing I've ever done because you're working with someone, you're working on a personal product. There are going to be clashes. You have to be need to know how to handle the conflict resolution and so many things. So when you're choosing your editor, that's another important decision that you need to make. And thirdly, when you hear of all these strategies, gurus and these coaches telling you, do this, do that, do this, please pick your battles. Like, I was advised to put my book on Amazon, on Ingram Spark and these other platforms, but I kind of knew that Ingram Spark at the moment looked very complicated for me. I have nothing against the platform. I haven't even explored it, but I'm just telling my personal experience. So I decided to focus only on Amazon because I felt that that was doable for me. Because I don't really have a team; it's a one-person team, and I kind of knew that I wouldn't be able to deal with the complexity of, that platform, because it's a whole other game. And there are a lot of interconnected things that might be a little overwhelming. At least it was for me. So really know what is your limit. What can you do and what can you not do? Because only then can you do the best of what you can do. Because if you can pick and choose those, you can really focus on your efforts, like laser focus on these things. And the third thing that I think really worked for me was my PR. As in, I want my own PR. I did not have a PR or paid ads. Honestly, you don't really need paid ads, or any kind of paid service, is my experience. Because I think my book was the number one bestseller in the pre-order stage itself, because I had personally reached out to people. Like, I was my own PR. I personally reached out to people. Also, the way you reach has to be something that, you know, touches them in a way that they want to join your journey as well. So while you keep building allies on the journey, once it's out there, the way you interact and the way you share your story and the way you invite people to hold your story in their hands, that's also something that you can do it intentionally and beautifully. And no PR or paid ads can match that.
Mhm. That's so true. It really sounds like, I mean, you're saying everything that we tell to our writers at 1 Billion Arc, and it really comes
Mhm.
down to centering your authenticity and not letting
Yeah.
anyone else tell you that you're doing it
Yeah.
wrong because you're not
Mhm.
doing it like them. It's really finding that confidence in your own version of the
Yeah.
story and holding on to that voice that you have in you and trusting it, which is the hardest thing to do.
I-
Um, yeah. So I mean, just beyond the keeping your authenticity and your genuineness intact throughout the entire technical process, even from the beginning, what do you think it was that made so many people just see your book and hear what you were saying? And what were you saying that like no one else was, that so many people were just so immediately drawn to? There's something here that I need to read this book. I need to hold it in my hands.
I think it's because I kind of made this book. So generally, it comes in the category of a creative nonfiction memoir. But I didn't really pitch it as a memoir, because when you say a memoir, people, the general public, is mostly interested in, even if you see the Amazon categories, in the memoir section, you have Michelle Obama, you have Malala, you have such big names, and you're a small potato compared to all of these people. So I think the way you structure your book, where you keep the reader first, is also something that's very helpful and makes people feel that, okay, I have something in this that I can get out of it. So, what I pitched was that this book will take the reader on a journey of unlearning the stereotypes and conditioning that hold us back. The second stage is unraveling who you are beyond all these boxes that you're supposed to fit in. And the third part is rebuilding a life that feels authentic to you in pace and spirit. So it literally feels that this is a book that's going to help me take you from point A to point B. It kind of promises a transformation with a lived experience. I think that's how I put this book forward. I didn't say that, hey, this is my story of how I did this or whatever, because they were like, yeah, so. But then I was promising, or I was rather pitching the reader, that I'm going to take you on a journey of transformation from point A to point B. And as I tell you examples of lived experiences, you will be able to take that journey with me, because each chapter ends with a prompt for the reader to reflect on that part of their life. So it feels, if you keep your book very reader first and actionable for the reader, I think that also makes people interested, curious, and wanting to invest, because they have something to get from that other than reading your story.
Right. It comes back to that power of Me Too. When
Yeah.
you're telling something, you're giving a voice to someone who hasn't maybe been able to voice that feeling that has been inside of them their whole lives. And when you're the one to give words to that and give validation to it, you say, I see you. Then someone else is able to say, Me too. And now they're invested. And now they need your book in order to help themselves heal.
Yeah.
Do you know, or have you experienced in the writing process or the creative process, um, have you experienced it being a deeply healing process? Because I find that whenever I write a book, it's so often that it does get stuck at so many different phases because it feels like such a big, overwhelming thing. And I feel like that overwhelm comes from it's making you walk through that process of healing. And
Yeah.
once you reach that process, then you're able to give your words to someone else and say, "This is my story." Then you're giving them the gift of walk through this healing with me. Do you see that process playing out with your own book?
Absolutely. Because I think when you write your story, you're actually reliving those experiences. And you can really know which of these wounds are still there, and the scar is really flimsy, like it's like a scab that's gonna, like, anytime it's gonna come off. So there were days when I was writing about certain experiences and I was not feeling okay because clearly I haven't processed it. So I had to literally feel like, okay, you know what, I need to process this in order to put this out there in a way that doesn't feel like a raw nerve. Like when you go to the dentist and you remove a tooth and your nerves are still exposed, it's not a nice feeling. So it compels you. It's not, so it really compels you to actually heal yourself in the process so that you can tell your story. Otherwise, it comes across very raw and sometimes it's not very palatable. So writing will compel you to heal so that you can serve the larger good of your, my main purpose of writing a book.
Mm. I really love that. And I also very much commend you on the labor of love and the service that you did in giving this gift to the people who said me too. And you were able to give them that gift of healing through your own journey of feeling those raw nerves and having that scab opened. So thank you so much for the work that you've done here. I'm so excited to read Color Coded. I'm so excited to recommend it to everyone else because I feel like this is such a powerful message that we need. Um, there's there's so many voices today telling us that our authenticity isn't good enough. And I think that we need stories to be able to remind us that we all come with different perspectives, we all come with different lived experiences, but those human emotional truths are universal, and that's what connects us. And that's where we will find our power if we can tap into the power of story. Um, so, what other creations of magic are on your horizons now? And where can people find you, support you, and learn more from you about creativity and authenticity?
So I think I have another book in me. And so my paperback is almost out. So I think that's definitely on. And then, there's going to be a lot of, after movement as well. So a lot of book launches and book talks because I want these conversations to take mainstream. And I want more and more people to join this movement of finding their stories and finding themselves, because that's what this book is about. The tagline is finding ourselves and our stories. So I want to empower more people through these kind of conversations like the one we're having. That's definitely something I'm very looking forward to. And next would be another book, perhaps, because this book is mainly on themes of identity, creativity, and representation. So three. Probably I will be taking one of them and then going down that rabbit hole because I feel identity is a very, how do I say, a universal concept. Yet it's a very personal and very conflicting concept for a lot of us in many ways. So I think next probably would be, going down the rabbit hole of identity. That's definitely something on cards. And I'm always very open to sharing my journey, the ways or whatever, and very open to new authors or whoever's wanting to tell their stories to ask me questions. So you can find me on Substack. That's where I write every Monday. So every Monday, I have a new Substack coming in. I'm pretty active there. I'm also on Instagram. I think Instagram is somewhere where you can get almost all my updates, like right from what worked, what didn't work. So I do a lot of sharing there as well. So these two platforms. And then, yes, you always have LinkedIn if you're looking to book me as a speaker or for a book launch or a book talk. So LinkedIn is the place to find me. And yeah, these are the places you can find me.
That's awesome. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful for the community that you're building and just what a beautiful, uplifting thing it is. Funny thing, the One Brilliant Arc newsletter also comes out on Monday. So we're like Monday buddies. Although we
So
did
many
just find out,
similarities.
we did just find out that Monday is different in Hong Kong than in the
Yes.
US where I am. So
One day difference.
yeah, one day difference. So you can tell me, like, how is tomorrow? How's the next day gonna be? Are the vibes good?
It's going to be the best day ever.
It's giving me so much hope already. I know that I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and it's gonna be a good day. If there's one thing that you could leave our listeners with, whether they're here live with us, thank you everyone who joined us, or whether they listen to this recording later, if there's any one of those misfits, dreamers, women who refuse to shrink, who are looking for advice or encouragement, what's one sentence of encouragement or advice that you'd leave them with?
I think the one sentence I would say is your story matters. So make sure you find your stories, share it, because your story matters and only you can tell it the best way that you can. And this book is going to help you. So find it on Amazon, ebook and paperback both. And if I've also told everyone that if you do try any of the prompts, please feel free to share them with me. I'd love to share them and, further the conversations around these.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I will say it again louder for the people in the back. Your story matters. Please tell it. Don't let anyone dictate how you're supposed to tell it. Pick up the pen yourself and own your story and trust in your authentic voice, because someone else needs it out there. Someone else needs you to be able to give them that gift of saying, me too. So thank you so much, Urmila, for joining us. You are like my new best friend. I'm so excited
Same.
that we were able to have this conversation, and I look forward to many more happening in the future.
Yes. And good. Very well done on your first live. Thank you for everyone who joined us.
Thank you
We
so
really
much.
had a good time. Thank you.
Yes. Have a great day or evening, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye. See you, everyone. Bye.